resulted in extensive mechanical damage, missed boating season opportunities, and thousands of dollars in disputed repair costs. The plaintiff, a retired airline pilot and lifelong boating enthusiast, explains that he purchased a 32-foot cabin cruiser several years earlier and maintained it meticulously through annual servicing. At the beginning of the boating season, he noticed declining engine performance and hired the defendant's marina because it advertised factory-certified marine technicians and specialized experience rebuilding high-performance inboard engines. According to the plaintiff, the parties agreed that the marina would remove both engines, replace worn internal components, rebuild the cooling system, inspect the fuel injection equipment, and complete all work before the Memorial Day holiday weekend. The estimated completion time was approximately 6 weeks. Believing the schedule was realistic, the plaintiff paid a substantial deposit and reserved several family boating vacations throughout the summer. The plaintiff testifies that the project immediately encountered delays. Parts allegedly arrived late. Technicians were reassigned to emergency repairs for other customers, and promised completion dates were repeatedly postponed. Nearly 3 months later, the marina informed him that the engines had finally been reinstalled and successfully tested. After paying most of the remaining balance, the plaintiff launched the boat for its first trip of the season. Less than 2 hours into the voyage, warning alarms activated, engine temperature rose rapidly, and the port engine shut down completely. The boat required assistance from the local Marine Patrol before being towed back to the marina. According to the plaintiff, the defendant initially blamed clogged cooling passages caused by debris in the water. However, an independent marine surveyor later concluded that several cooling hoses had been installed incorrectly, restricting coolant circulation and causing severe overheating that damaged internal engine components. The plaintiff ultimately hired another repair facility to rebuild the engine again, and now seeks reimbursement for the original repair charges, towing expenses, surveyor fees, and additional repair costs. The defendant disputes responsibility and argues that the plaintiff ignored dashboard warning indicators before the engine failed. According to the marina owner, the rebuilt engine performed properly during extensive dockside testing and a successful sea trial before delivery. He believes the plaintiff continued operating the vessel after receiving high-temperature warnings, significantly increasing the severity of the damage. The defendant also notes that the cooling system later contained aquatic vegetation, suggesting the intake became partially blocked while the boat was underway. Judge Judy immediately requests the repair contract, warranty documents, and maintenance records. The plaintiff produces detailed invoices listing every replaced component together with the written warranty covering workmanship for 1 year. Judge Judy reviews the paperwork carefully before asking whether the plaintiff received operating instructions for the rebuilt engines, including recommended monitoring during the initial break-in period. The defendant confirms that written instructions accompanied the final invoice. Attention then shifts toward the independent marine survey. The plaintiff introduces the surveyor's report identifying improperly routed cooling hoses and several hose clamps that were insufficiently tightened. Judge Judy studies the diagrams before asking whether those installation issues could reasonably produce overheating. The surveyor appears as an expert witness and explains that restricting coolant flow within a marine engine can rapidly elevate operating temperatures, eventually causing extensive internal damage if not corrected immediately. The defendant responds by presenting photographs taken during the original rebuild together with service records documenting pressure tests of the cooling system before delivery. He also introduces electronic engine data showing that warning alarms activated several minutes before the engine finally shut down. Judge Judy asks whether immediate reduction of engine speed after the first warning might have prevented catastrophic damage. The defendant replies that doing so likely would have limited the failure considerably. The plaintiff acknowledges hearing an alarm but explains that he believed it represented a faulty sensor because the engines had supposedly just been rebuilt. He states that he reduced speed only after noticing steam emerging from the engine compartment. Judge Judy remarks that experienced boat owners should never ignore engine warnings regardless of recent repairs. An independent marine engineer appears as an expert witness. After reviewing repair records, engine components, survey photographs, and electronic data logs, he concludes that both parties contributed to the final outcome. According to his testimony, one cooling hose appears to have been routed incorrectly during reassembly, reducing coolant efficiency. However, the engine also operated at elevated temperatures for several minutes after warning alarms activated, substantially increasing the extent of internal damage. Judge Judy asks whether the original installation error alone would necessarily have destroyed the engine. The expert replies that prompt shutdown likely would have limited repairs to a much smaller scope. Discussion broadens into the responsibilities shared by repair professionals and equipment owners. Judge Judy explains that repair facilities must perform technically correct work and thoroughly inspect systems before returning equipment to customers. At the same time, owners remain responsible for responding immediately to warning indicators that signal potentially serious mechanical problems. The plaintiff argues that he relied upon the defendant's expertise and had every reason to believe the rebuilt engines were safe. The defendant responds that no mechanical system is immune from unexpected problems and that operators must react appropriately when alarms occur. Closing arguments summarize the dispute. The plaintiff contends that defective workmanship initiated the overheating and forced him to pay twice for essentially the same engine rebuild. The defendant maintains that any initial installation issue became catastrophic only because the plaintiff continued operating the boat after receiving multiple engine warnings. Judge Judy carefully reviews the repair contract, warranty documents, expert testimony, electronic engine data, marine survey, photographs, invoices, and correspondence before delivering her decision. She concludes that the evidence demonstrates shared responsibility. The mariner failed to establish that every cooling component had been installed correctly before returning the vessel, while the plaintiff failed to respond promptly to unmistakable warning signals indicating serious engine distress. Judge Judy orders the defendant to reimburse the plaintiff for a substantial portion of the corrective repair costs attributable to the improper installation while reducing the award to reflect the plaintiff's contribution to the final extent of the damage. She also awards reimbursement for the independent marine survey, but declines to compensate the plaintiff for canceled recreational trips because those losses are too speculative. Before dismissing the parties, Judge Judy offers practical advice to boat owners and marine repair businesses. Repair facilities should document every stage of complex mechanical projects with photographs and quality control inspections before delivery. Owners, meanwhile, should treat warning alarms as immediate instructions to stop operating expensive machinery rather than suggestions that can be ignored until reaching shore. The litigants leave the courtroom with mixed results. The boat owner recovers much of the money spent correcting the defective repair, while the marine is reminded that specialized expertise carries equally specialized responsibility. Judge Judy concludes the case with another familiar lesson. Whether on land or water, expensive machines forgive very few mistakes, and ignoring early warning signs often turns manageable problems into costly disasters. Continues with a second case involving a dispute between the owner of a luxury vacation rental property and a family who rented the home for a week-long holiday, centering on extensive property damage, unauthorized parties, excessive cleaning expenses, and the return of a substantial security deposit. The plaintiff, who owns several high-end vacation homes in a popular lakeside resort community, explains that the defendants reserved a 5-bedroom waterfront property nearly 6 months in advance for what they described as a quiet family reunion involving 10 relatives. According to the rental agreement, the maximum occupancy was 12 guests, loud parties were prohibited, pets were not allowed, and the security deposit could be withheld to cover any damage beyond ordinary use. The plaintiff testifies that communication before the rental was pleasant and professional. The defendants paid the required deposit, accepted every condition contained in the rental agreement, and assured the property manager that only immediate family members would be staying at the home. During the rental period, however, neighbors allegedly contacted the property manager several times to complain about loud music, vehicles blocking nearby driveways, and dozens of unfamiliar guests arriving late at night. Because the rental agreement prohibited unapproved gatherings, the property manager attempted to contact the lead renter, but received no response until the following morning. According to the plaintiff, the problems became apparent after the defendants checked out. During the final inspection, housekeeping staff discovered broken patio furniture, burn marks on the wooden deck caused by portable grills, stained carpets throughout the living room, cracked bathroom tiles, damaged outdoor landscaping, and an overflowing container of household trash that had attracted wildlife. The plaintiff also claims that several decorative lamps, kitchen utensils, and outdoor cushions listed on the property's inventory were missing. He now seeks compensation for repair costs, replacement of missing property, deep cleaning expenses, and additional lost rental income because the home required unexpected repairs before it could be rented again. The defendants dispute many of those allegations. The lead renter explains that while additional relatives briefly visited during one evening barbecue, only the original family members actually stayed overnight. According to his testimony, some furniture damage already existed before arrival, and several stains on the carpet resulted from ordinary accidents involving young children rather than reckless behavior. He also argues that severe weather during the rental caused a large tree branch to fall onto the deck, contributing to some of the claimed exterior damage. Finally, he insists that the property owner exaggerated repair estimates in an effort to retain the entire security deposit. Judge Judy immediately requests the rental agreement, check-in inspection report, inventory checklist, and checkout photographs. The plaintiff produces detailed documentation showing the property's condition immediately before the defendants arrived. Judge Judy reviews the materials carefully before asking whether the defendants reported any pre-existing damage when they checked in. The lead renter acknowledges noticing a loose patio chair, but admits he never informed the property manager because he considered it insignificant. The plaintiff introduces security camera footage covering the driveway and front entrance. The recordings show numerous visitors arriving during 2 evenings, with more than 20 vehicles entering the property over several hours. Judge Judy asks whether the cameras recorded the backyard or interior of the home. The plaintiff explains that, for privacy reasons, cameras monitored only exterior entry points. The defendants acknowledge hosting a family celebration, but deny organizing a commercial event or large public party. Attention then shifts toward the damaged furnishings. The plaintiff presents photographs showing cracked patio chairs, burn marks on the deck, torn sofa cushions, and wine stains on a large area rug. Judge Judy asks whether professional cleaning successfully removed the stains. The plaintiff replies that several stains remain permanent, requiring replacement of the rug. The defendants produce photographs taken during their stay showing children swimming, relatives eating outdoors, and generally normal family activities. They argue that nothing in the images suggests reckless conduct or intentional property destruction. Judge Judy notes that enjoyable family gatherings and property damage are not mutually exclusive, and focuses instead on the documented condition of the home after checkout. An experienced property restoration contractor appears as an expert witness. After reviewing repair invoices and inspection photographs, he concludes that some claimed damage, particularly the deck burn marks and broken outdoor furniture, is consistent with misuse rather than ordinary wear. However, he also believes several repainting charges and landscaping repairs appear excessive and may represent routine maintenance unrelated to the defendant's occupancy. Discussion broadens into the purpose of security deposits in short-term vacation rentals. Judge Judy explains that deposits exist to compensate owners for actual damage caused during a guest stay, not to finance general improvements or deferred maintenance. At the same time, renters who invite additional guests beyond those contemplated by the rental agreement increase both the risk of property damage and their own potential liability. The lead renter becomes frustrated, arguing that no vacation home remains perfect after accommodating a large family with children for an entire week. Judge Judy agrees that reasonable wear is inevitable, but reminds him that burn marks, broken furniture, and missing inventory exceed what most landlords would consider ordinary use. Closing arguments summarize the disagreement. The plaintiff argues that the defendants violated occupancy rules, failed to supervise guests adequately, and left the property requiring thousands of dollars in repairs. The defendants maintain that the owner inflated repair costs and unfairly blamed them for pre-existing conditions and normal wear associated with vacation rentals. Judge Judy carefully reviews the rental agreement, security footage, inspection reports, inventory records, photographs, repair estimates, expert testimony, and correspondence before announcing her decision. She concludes that the defendants are responsible for the documented damage to the deck, broken outdoor furniture, missing inventory items, and professional cleaning required beyond normal turnover. However, she rejects several claims relating to repainting, landscaping, and cosmetic maintenance because the evidence does not establish that those conditions resulted directly from the defendant's actions. Judge Judy orders that a significant portion of the security deposit be retained by the plaintiff to cover verified repair expenses, while the remaining balance must be returned to the defendants. She also denies the plaintiff's claim for speculative lost rental income because insufficient evidence demonstrates that future bookings were actually canceled as a direct result of the repairs. Before dismissing the parties, Judge Judy offers practical advice to owners and renters of vacation properties. Property owners should conduct detailed inspections with time-stamped photographs before and after every rental, while guests should immediately report any pre-existing damage and carefully observe occupancy limits established in the rental agreement. Clear communication, she explains, often prevents disagreements after checkout. The litigants leave the courtroom with a balanced resolution. The property owner recovers compensation for genuine damage caused during the rental period, while the family avoids paying for routine maintenance unrelated to their stay. Judge Judy concludes the case with another practical lesson. Borrowing someone else's property for a vacation carries the same responsibility as borrowing it for a single afternoon. Return it in substantially the same condition in which it was received.